me see. Here we go, right? We got to give it a couple minutes because sometimes it tricks us. Sometimes it says it's live, but it's not.
Oh,
so
right.
give it a minute.
How do we know?
Wait, well, you'll see. Something will scroll up. If you're out there, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, give us something to know you're out there because sometimes Facebook says it's live, but it's not really live. So we're going to give it a second, and it should go click. There it is, right?
Oh,
You see
there.
it? We
Yeah,
fucked up.
I see.
So hi, guys. It's Randy at Blue Ridge Winery, where you all know the mission. The mission here is to add value to your life. And today is going to rock. Oh, my gosh, guys. I have a special guest. This lady is spectacular on every level. Can I introduce you all? This is Dr. Heather Fiedler. Dr. Heather Fiedler has accomplished some wonderful things with her life, and I love talking to Heather. Heather and I have been talking here, guys, for like the past 15 minutes. I wish we recorded it.
I do too.
It was like the best conversation ever. I mean, like, I got to tell you, within a couple of minutes, Heather has me talking about things that I haven't talked about in a long time. And she goes, we're so similar. You have no idea what it, Heather, you have no idea. So let me tell you about Heather, guys. Okay, so this is Dr. Heather. She is the mother of twins, teenage girls. She's a spouse to a retired active duty sergeant major in the Marine Corps. Right? I love it. As a child, guess what she did? She competed in the Scottish Highland Dancer and competed on the United States Championships in 1985, 86, and 88. What happened in 87?
I don't know.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Heather got her bachelor degree in psychology from Marywood College in 1991, and then her master's in psychology from Marywood University in 99, and then in 2021, she got a doctorate degree in psychology from Southern University of California. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank
How
you.
awesome, right? All right, so what else going on here? Heather's got it going on, guys. Heather's a licensed professional counselor. She has offices in two places. There's one in Mountain Home and there's one in Stroudsburg. And she's been doing that for over 15 years.
No longer. So I did.
Okay, you did. Okay. She did it for 15 years. Okay. All right. Heather has served at a federal agency in Northeast Pennsylvania for 21 years. Awesome stuff, huh? My gosh. She serves as an organizational development specialist. You can see why I'm thinking, Heather, please come to this thing. You can add value to the world. She's added so much value to me, guys. Heather has taught undergraduate and graduate part-time at Marywood University in Scranton since 1999. Heather's got it going on, guys. Heather provides clinical supervision and consultation to the graduates in mental health, psychology, counseling, so they can obtain their licenses. Talking about helping people achieve their dreams, right? Nationally, Heather has spoken at conferences on topics such as domestic and sexual violence, trauma and treatment, motivation and cognitive bias, and influencing behavior. Wow. Every topic that we love to talk about here. Yo, Lynn, I see you. See you guys. Locally, Heather has spoken. Did we do that one yet? No, we haven't, right? No. There's a lot, right? Heather has it going on.
You can
Heather, no, I gotta read this. It's good stuff. Locally, Heather has spoken to medical professionals on responding to military and their families' issues on deployment and reunions, post-traumatic stress disorder, and communicating and making connection with other people. You can see why I love this. Heather's got a doctorate. Heather's doctorate project was on cognitive bias of performance feedback. Some deep stuff, right? I love that. Heather's current work focuses on cognitive appraisals of performance feedback and how personality constructs influence how leaders communicate with their teams, and this is how you can reach Heather, guys. If you want to contact Heather after this presentation, she has an email. It's Heather Fiedler. It's Feidler, the number 1 at gmail.com. I'll say it again at the end, then, okay? What she came to talk about is this, guys. Man, Steven! I see you, dude. Steven! Oh my God. Steven, I hear recording any stuff for this summer. It's going to rock. Merry Christmas. I love it. So Heather's here to talk about a couple of the things that I love to talk about. So do you remember when I wrote that one talk called You Become What You Believe? Well, that's one of her topics. You become what you think about most of the time. You become what you believe. Number 2 is pay attention to how you talk to yourself. And how not only it determines your mood and your attitude, right? I had to ask her. Of how it's also going to determine how you treat others. Number 3 is be gracious towards yourself. I love that. and how you can only extend the generosity towards others when you're gracious to yourself, right? Find your limits. They don't really, say it again, they don't rely upon others to define them for you. Wow. Man, I love this stuff. Find your limits and do not let other people set them for you, right? And the fifth one is practice makes permanent and not practice. So, I love it, right?
Thank you,
Heather,
Randy.
oh my God. Guys, this is fun. Heather's fun to talk to. A lot of fun. So,
Thanks, Randy.
So,
when we talk about these 5 elements, and I am just so grateful that I get to be here with you in the underground.
right? We're in the underground room.
My favorite
Should I
place.
show real quick? Check
Yes,
it out.
please.
Right? There we are. We're in the underground room. The chandelier, look around. Right? I love it, Heather. Thanks,
you.
Heather.
It's so simple what we talk about, but simple never translates to easy. The things that are worth doing are hard.
So true.
And there's no getting around that. And so when you think about what you believe, what is that? What is that really? When you think about what you believe about yourself, do you think and believe that you are capable and courageous? Do you think that you are capable but cowardly? You know, whatever the thoughts are, however you first answer, you know, who are you? Whatever that first initial knee-jerk thought is, that is what governs your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every bit of it. So where does all that start? How do you, if someone has a self-esteem or a self-worth or a self-image that isn't what they want it to be, how do you change it?
Great. That's a great question. And again, simple, not easy. So one of the first things you have to do is you have to find out your self-talk. Pay attention. You know, in the moments where you catch yourself talking to yourself. So let me give you one of the first time I remember became acutely aware of what I was saying to myself. And it was as a competitive Scottish Highland dancer, and I was doing the sword dance. And my teacher and coach, Marguerite Reed,
Awesome.
okay, she, and like every amazing coach, she was tough. She told me things that I didn't necessarily want to hear, but she was spot on. And so I was doing the sword dance and not well. I knew it, right? And she said, "Stop. Put that away. I cannot bear to watch you do that again." Right. And I was probably, like 10, 12 at the time.
Awesome.
And I remember immediately listening to my inner voice that said, "I'll show you." I mean,
That's
that
pretty
was immediate, right?
So do you think some people have that response versus woe is me?
I think it's both. And that's the really important thing. It's both. Because the other story that I can share, right,
Right.
is that I also was aware at Marywood when I was a student, professor was asking a question in research and statistics, and I know research and statistics, but I was an undergrad student. I was like, but I shot my hand up. I was like, I know this, I know this. And other kids had shot their hand up too, and so he was taking his time asking people, and within that 30-second, 1-minute time period, I had talked myself out of, because I noticed I was saying, "Put your hand down.
Wow.
I don't know if you know this. And if you don't know it, you might look foolish." And so my hand slowly went down. So it's and. It's not or. Now, of course, you know, people who have the ability to tune in and utilize their inner advocate, right? Maybe you've heard that term, inner advocate, more than their inner critic. Which do you
That's
feed
great stuff.
every day?
Right.
Because if you feed your inner advocate, you are fueling self-confidence. And if you feed that inner critic, you are fueling self-doubt. So every day, I try to feed the inner advocate, and sometimes I fail, but I really do. Feed the inner advocate, starve the inner critic every day.
I heard one time there was someone talking about being in the car alone and saying the words out loud, "I like myself." And if you feel really weird, it's because you really don't. Is there something to that?
So I love that question, right? The genuine part of you. And Saturday Night Live did a spoof on that, right? Looked in the mirror, the steward, and said, "I like myself," right? And the people, it turned into like a well-known thing. But there is something to that. And what it's really about is your authentic self. You don't have to necessarily, you have to do what feels right to you. And that's the interesting thing about feelings. Feelings are not facts, right? Feelings are based upon our attitude, our tude, our mood.
You would say
And
feelings are not right or wrong?
feelings are not right or wrong.
Love that. I'm with you.
Feelings
100%.
have nothing to do
I'm with you.
right or wrong.
So when someone says, you shouldn't feel like that?
No.
Right. Right. That sentence should not be said.
It should not, because it's limiting. And now let's go to, no, everybody, who knows you better than you?
Exactly.
What sense does it make that someone would know you better, that someone would know me better? We know ourselves best. Now, of course, it's good to surround ourselves with people who are reliable and trustworthy and genuine, because then they model and witness, and we can witness that, and we can replicate it. I mean, I am so lucky to have two women in my life, who I have learned from my entire life. I have got to have a front row seat to how to do things and how to do things well, how to be graceful. And I believe that is why I learned how to be generous, especially when I make mistakes. There's no avoiding mistakes in this life.
No.
No.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
In fact, I want to say if you want a double rate of success, you have to double rate of failure.
Sure.
Right. There's ratios that no one can break. Right.
At all.
So, but would you agree that in the life, I talk all the time how every single little baby when they're born with hope and enthusiasm, excitement and joy, and they're born with dreams in their head. And then as they get older, people build up the dreams of 8-year-olds and 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds. They go, "You're gonna be an astronaut, little man." But then what happens is something changes, and then all of a sudden you have people taking their failures out on other people. And then that's why I always say, don't ever tell a big dream to a small-minded person, because everyone has to rationalize their own existence. So if you have someone taking their ugliness out on you, it's not about you.
That's right. And we were talking about this before
Right. Best
the
conversation
camera
ever.
came on, right? When we talk to each other, when we offer people feedback, we are revealing ourselves. I mean, because we can't get out of our own
Right.
lens.
It's
How
so true.
we see the world,
Yeah.
how we experience others is always through our lens. We are biased, flawed human beings.
Yeah. God. You know, you ever this sentence, the words that come from your mouth speaks to the condition of your heart.
Yes.
Yeah. For some reason I've been saying that lately in Underground.
Have
You know?
you?
Yeah. Because it's like, I come in here and I give this presentation. I go, it's not about you. It's about me.
Yeah, and,
Right.
But that's it. And some people, but people have yet to learn sometimes, right? So in school and at where I work, presentations, right?
Yeah.
And when you give a presentation, you are giving of yourself. That is,
Absolutely.
whether you
You are,
want
yeah.
to or not,
Right.
right?
Right.
And people then offer themselves back. And sometimes that criticism can be swift, it can be harsh,
Come
and it's
hard.
like, ooh. But realize the vantage point that it's coming from. It's coming from that other person's perspective. I remember when I first started at Toby Hanna, right? So,
It's all good.
okay, at where I work. And I recall that there's a formal onboarding process and an informal. And in the informal onboarding process, people were telling me what I should and should not do, what I should and should not say. And I said thank you, but I wanted to go figure it out for myself. I really appreciate people's perspectives and their opinions and what they're willing to share, but now I'm going to go find what I decide to do.
What actions could people take to increase their level of contentment, happiness, joy? What actions? What moves could they make with their life?
So what you first need to do is figure out what are you willing to do, right? So in therapy, oftentimes, like 95%, people, couples, families, children, adults would say, here's what I'm unwilling to do.
Okay.
They tend to offer that first.
Yeah, right.
Here's what I'm unwilling to do. I'm unwilling to do this, unwilling to do that. Don't even waste your time. We're not going to talk. Okay, that's helpful to a point because you have carved out what you're unwilling to do.
Sure.
Take that a step further. What are you willing to do? And it need not be big. But once you figure out one thing, and it doesn't matter what it is, maybe your one thing, based upon our conversation is, okay, I'm going to start tuning in. I'm going to try and figure out what exactly am I saying to myself? Really, what am I saying to myself? Not what I hope I say to myself, not what others may want me to. What am I saying? And then based upon that, what am I willing to do? Am I willing to give voice to it out loud? Because some of these inner critics, and that's largely what was uncovered in therapy, right? The inner critic voice.
Yeah.
That is a tough thing to share with another person.
Huge.
It's huge.
Huge. But how does the saying go? If you want peace, don't speak to your friends, speak to your enemies. There's another saying out there. It says, like, we become our worst hecklers. Like, if there's a heckler in the room, seriously, going, you guys are no good, we would go, please get them out of the room. But sometimes we sit here and go, man, let me no good at this. We become our own worst heckler.
Yes.
So I guess it's a matter of becoming aware of this stuff that is going to have the biggest impact.
It is.
Right? Yeah.
And knowing that you can handle it. Because what do? We hold ourselves hostage. Let's go back to the heckler example. Get them out of the room. And I would say, leave them. Leave them and let's see what is the real issue. And you can handle it. Because oftentimes with our behaviors, we don't say out loud, but we demonstrate, I can't handle this. We have made it through 100% of our worst days. So far.
So far, so good, right?
Yeah, right?
Right?
And so it's also about believing in yourself.
Right.
And a lot of the things that we hold ourselves hostage with, we don't have the exact experience with. Right? So we imagine things. We go, oh, I can't do that.
We make up stories. Right?
Yeah.
We make up stories, right?
We
It's
make
the
up-
side stories that you're telling yourself about a situation.
Yes.
Right. I remember my mom saying to me, she goes, Randy, no matter what happens to you, you say, this is good. And I remember some terrible things happening and thinking, this is good. I'm like, I don't know why, but this is good.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how your perspective can change everything.
It does.
It changes everything. How do you view what's happening to you? And usually it's the side stories you're telling yourself of how you're perceiving this. Is this a challenge for you to overcome to become a better version, or is it a problem you have to deal with?
That's it. I mean, you just summarized my dissertation for my...
I love that. Right? I love
Yeah,
that. Right? I
you
love
did.
that.
Because those individuals who could reframe obstacles into challenges,
Reframing. I love that.
reframing.
Yep. I love that.
And those individuals who could not,
Yep. Yep.
they got stuck. And we talk about being stuck a lot.
Yeah.
And stuck is merely being confronted with our own thoughts over and over and over again. And we convince ourselves without evidence that we're right.
Right. Right. Everyone has to rationalize their own experience.
Yes.
Their own existence.
Yeah.
This is right. It's good stuff, Heather. What else you got?
What else we got?
What else you got?
So let's talk about how practice makes permanent, not perfect, right?
I'm with you on that.
Perfection is unattainable, and
Right.
it's overrated, right?
Big
So when you introduced me, you said I've given discussions regarding post-traumatic stress disorder. Everybody knows that term, PTSD, right? I mean, and that's a good thing because there are individuals out there who are suffering with PTSD. How come we don't ever talk about the flip side of that same coin? How many of you have heard of post-traumatic growth? That is a thing.
Right. Right.
Meaning,
Right.
right?
Holy cow.
We cannot develop, we cannot experience transformative growth without pain.
So true. In every way. Whether you're working out, whether you're learning, no matter what it is, you're going to feel it.
Yes. And so how can we flip the script to stop talking about the disorder of it, right? The negative, and start talking about the growth and the positive. That's what we need to start talking about, post-traumatic growth, because I have had a number of survivors, domestic and sexual violence survivors, and that is upon meeting me, right, they would often refer to themselves and have others impose this label on them of victim. Right now, survivor. Because even that is where you are heading. And so the language we use is so important. And when we talk about that, oftentimes survivors would come to me and say, I know this is going to damage me for the rest of my life. And I
Whoa.
would say, you know that based on what?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And they
Right.
would say, well, that's what I've heard. That's what people are talking about. I turn on the TV and I'm like, okay. And now we're going to talk about something called post-traumatic growth.
Mm-hmm.
And now you know that there's a flip side to that coin.
Mm-hmm.
You need not be damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's an experience that has changed you.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. There is no getting away from that. Every experience changes us if we allow it, right? And
Right.
if we absorb it. But
Wow.
it was so important for survivors to hear, oh, no. There is healing.
It's huge. You know Sean Acor, right? Yeah. He's all over this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Happiness Advantage, all those. Yeah.
Yes.
Boy. I remember him talking about how many studies there are on the negative versus the positive. They don't even recognize the positive. You
No.
know? Right.
Because
Right.
it's easier, right? Cognitively,
Right.
emotionally, we are hardwired to find the negative, to find the danger.
Mm-hmm.
It's a survival.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you.
It helps.
Yeah.
Except that utilized too much, anything utilized too much is no longer a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
How often do we talk about balance?
Right.
And how good are we at finding balance in most of our lives? We're not.
No,
We're not.
right.
We tend to
Right.
go from one extreme to the
Yep.
other, right?
Yep. Yep.
Inactive, really active.
Yep.
Just using that as an example.
Yep.
Working, not work. I
Yep.
mean, balance is something that we try to navigate and negotiate all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And-
Can I ask you this? So I've done this experiment here in the underground. I call it the smile experiment. And you know how generally in the world people go, yeah, the bad overwhelms the good. You know, there's so much ugliness out there, and then a lot of times they go, if you got one bad apple in the group, the whole group's gonna go bad, right? And you've heard of those cliches. But I've always believed that good will always overpower the negative. The positive will always beat the negative. And what I'll do is I'll have people sit next to each other, and I'll go, all right, this side of the table, I want everyone to smile, the biggest smile you ever could smile. And on this side of the table, I don't want you to smile at all. Just look into their eyes and don't smile. No one cannot smile. Everyone
yeah,
smiles.
yeah.
And it proves that the upbeat, the positive, will always overwhelm the negative, always overwhelm the neutral, the one that's trying not to do that. So how is it that I can do a little quick study here where I can say, all right, you all smile, you don't, and everyone smiles. No one cannot smile because there's smiley people in the room. But yet in the world, it seems to be that you got one bad apple and it can spoil the group. Like,
Yeah.
I know, that's a big question, right?
It is a big question, but I think I can offer some insight in a couple of different ways. I don't know if you've ever heard of Martin Seligman.
Of course.
Okay.
I can understand.
He's well known now for positive psychology, right, and resiliency. What was he best known for when he first started in this field? Learned helplessness.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So he did this experiment with dogs. And
Yep, yep.
right,
I
the
remember seeing
dogs,
it.
the electrified,
Yep.
and
Wouldn't even go for it then. Right.
right.
They gave up.
They
Right.
gave up.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we talk about how one person can infect a group, it may be that the group, has learned helplessness about that person. And then that person, I don't ever believe it's one, right? I believe it's two. Because you need reinforcement for that negativity. And usually in a group you can find one who will reinforce your mindset, your beliefs, right? And so I do think learned helplessness is a part of it, is a part of spreading that negativity where people, and maybe are we experiencing that right now? People are giving up. Like, I have been hitting it hard. I have been bringing my best self. I have been doing this, and nothing is changing. And yet, that's where you and I were talking about routines. Don't do, especially the mindset and this part, for others, because you may get disappointed. Don't do that for others. Do it for yourself. Start with yourself. I do not treat people based on how they treat me.
I'm with you on that.
Ever.
I love that. I'm
Ever.
with you on that.
I treat
my
them.
God.
I mean, and trust me.
Yeah.
I mean, people have said things to me, you know, like
Right.
that
God,
kind
I'm
of
with
feel
you on
like
that.
stuns, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, what good would you offer to that, or what would? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And so instead, I offer them what I can live with, who I know I am. I'm not gonna. Someone's disrespectful to me. I'm not gonna be disrespectful to them back. First of all, I'm in control of me. I'm not in control of anyone else. And people get that so mixed up all the time. They want to, right? People come into therapy and go, "You have to help me change him or her."
No, it's awesome.
That's not how this works. What are you willing to change?
Right.
And then they tell me what they're unwilling to change.
Yeah.
And then eventually
Yeah.
we can have the conversation about what exactly do you want? What do you want that you don't have? And once we can define that, because you can't, what are you after? If people don't even know where they're headed and what they're after,
Right.
we got to
Right.
start there.
Do you agree that the beginning of all happiness is personal accountability?
Absolutely.
With you. Further, you and me.
Absolutely.
I'm with you. I've been arguing that. I'm just like, I put that out there and they go, no. Like, no. Because if you're not responsible for your own happiness, who is?
Who is?
Right.
And let's think about this, right? This is something, I don't know how we got here. It's not on the list.
Right,
But I think it's really important. So in family therapy, in couples therapy, people would say, listen, I am unhappy. I no longer want to be with my spouse, but I am staying for the children. Let's talk about that.
Boy, that's
Because it goes right back to personal accountability. The first question I've asked people, what are you teaching your children when they witness this? All of this unhappiness, all of this that you think you're sacrificing for your children, they are learning. Are they learning the lesson you think they are?
wow. Not even close.
I don't think
Not
so.
even close.
I don't think
You're
so.
basically training them to live a life that you don't want to live.
Right.
Right.
And to be quiet about it.
Right. I get goosebumps saying this. There's so many people that suffer in silence today. I hear things. I'm like, that person's going through those challenges, but they put up a front that's so wonderful. And I'm like, I learn. I'm like, oh my gosh, why do people hurt in silence? Why do they hurt quietly? Why are they dying on the inside? And when they should be screaming it, they're silent. What is why?
So let's talk about appearances. Let's talk about appearances which are surface, right? And unfortunately, we have a lot of examples. We have a lot more examples now of appearances that don't even come close to reality. Social media, right?
Your eyes are always lying to you.
Yeah.
Right.
And so if we just gathered information based on Facebook
Oh,
and all the right, it'd be like, and then you hear about the stories. And this recently just came up today. I had no idea that this person was suffering. They didn't tell me. Why didn't they tell me? I've got an answer, not because I don't believe it's just ever one answer.
Right.
An answer, judgment. So we're going back to the inner critic. If I am capable of saying these atrocious things to myself, well, I imagine that other people are equally capable of saying those things about me. Now we're back to the strength it takes to be vulnerable and share. Because you may judge me. And am I going to, are we going to have like a courageous conversation where you actually say what you mean to me so we can navigate our way through it and have a real relationship? Or are you going to say what you think you should say? And my inner critic will get loud and say, and that's why relationships are really the key to everything. The real relationships. Because the real relationships, they're a mess. They're ugly sometimes. They're fantastic other times. They're rewarding. They're they're everything. They're horrible. They're great.
I can relate.
That's real.
Oh my gosh. Right. Wow.
The relationships that on the surface look really good, they're not real.
Right.
And you know
Gotta
the
relate that.
difference. You know the difference.
Right.
Your head, your heart, your gut. Use that as your intuition. Because one of the three will always help you.
Wow. We talked about Brene Brown a little bit earlier.
Yeah, we
Right?
did.
And the word
Yeah,
vulnerability just came up. right?
Yes.
Her definition of vulnerability, right, is help me with it.
Okay.
I'm losing it.
Well, first of all, she redefined it as a strength, not a weakness.
Big
and
time.
if you still look in the dictionary, right, Merriam-Webster, you're going to find
Is it really? It's a weakness?
It's a weakness.
Really?
It still is.
This changes society, though.
It did.
Right. Words
But,
matter.
Of course, words matter.
Wow.
And so, vulnerability.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Vulnerability. Yeah, if we
That's
Googled it
huge.
right now. Vulnerability is about having the strength to expose your authentic self.
Which everyone wants to see. And that's the crazy thing about this. When you're being vulnerable, people are seeing you as courageous, but yet you're seeing yourself as weak.
Well-
Like, what is that?
Well, or there might be the one or two, right? The negative one or two who will weaponize that vulnerability. Will try to.
Okay.
Don't allow them, right? Like Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Don't give it. Of course there will be people who may say, why would you do that? Why would you say that? You can't do that. Number one, decide, who are they in your life? Oftentimes we give all this, credibility to people that we don't know well.
Oh, so true. Oh my
Isn't
goodness.
that true?
It's crazy.
I mean, like
Right.
people, acquaintances.
Right. They're the expert. Right. They basically, because they have an opinion, they're the expert.
Yeah.
My gosh.
No.
Right.
So who do you rely upon for credible evidence of who you are? For me, it's my husband.
Love it.
It is my mom,
Neat.
right?
Yeah.
It is my twins.
Yeah.
And it is my best friends. That is who I rely upon. Because in my spectacular failures, because I've had a few, right? I've had more than a few. And in my worst moments, they have said to me, this doesn't look good on you. You have to do better.
Do you have your 1x1 card of like whose opinion matters? You know, Brene Brown. You were here
Yeah,
to say that.
yeah, I have.
Because you just did that.
I did.
That's so awesome.
And other people, it's not that I don't value what they have to say, but it's measured.
Right.
Right?
Right. I'm with you. It's gauged.
It
yeah,
is
it's
absolutely
right?
gauged.
Do I value it or do I not? Right.
Yeah.
Does it matter? Right.
I value what people offer to me, but I also take it through the lens in which they're offering it.
I'm so with you. Wow. This is the best conversation I've had all week. That's really grateful.
Wonderful. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Heather.
Thank you.
So guys, man, I hope you enjoyed talking to Heather like I did, guys. Heather's really, really fun to talk to. She has a very clear mind. She knows what she's saying. You can find her at an email address of Heather Fiedler. It's Fiedler, the number 1 at gmail.com. Thanks, y'all, for being here. We are so grateful. Merry Christmas. It's going to be a great new year. We have big plans, guys. We went so big this year, guys. You have no idea. Like, we bought 250,000 corks. We bought bottles like crazy. Those glasses, I don't know where we're going to put them. Great stuff. I'm excited. See
Thank
y'all.
you,
Thanks for being part of our life. We're beyond grateful. Thanks, y'all. Thank you. Bye, y'all.